I was born in Santa Cruz. My mom and dad walked me out to the boardwalk most Sundays to look at the nice vintage cars. Cruising was big back then. I think it still is now. People would drive by in their cool cars while we sat on a bench near the arcade, usually enjoying some treat while I played with my Hot Wheels toys. Everything was typical until my mom saw a blue beat-up Mustang pass. The guy driving slowed as he went by. Mom told Dad that the driver freaked her out. My mom was an extremely attractive Italian. Actually, we were a really nice-looking family all together back then. Dad was a diver lifeguard, and I had a mess of long blonde hair. My mom got unwanted attention pretty constantly, so Dad just brushed her off. This was what you expected from tourists. The beat-up blue Mustang pulled around again, and Mom made an excuse as to why we should go home. She knew something was wrong. Walking a few blocks took us away from the crowd. Mom was carrying me on her back. She noticed the blue car going by over and over. My dad finally became concerned when the car started pulling over into the lane nearest us when it came by and speeding off to round the block again. The driver was huge compared to my dad. We were still walking away from the crowds. This guy was leering at my mom while she was carrying me. This was before cell phones, and this guy was getting more aggressive by the block. The sun was about to set soon, and we were walking away from the crowds. My parents made the best decision possible and turned around. They went back to the boardwalk, which was always crawling with lazy cops. Mom went into the arcade to find an officer while Dad waited out front with me so I wouldn't whine about wanting to play again. While we were waiting, the blue Mustang drove by again and again, its driver staring my dad down. A reluctant cop followed my mom out to get a look at what was going on. My clearest memory of the incident was the next moment when the blue Mustang was surrounded by officers and the driver was taken away in handcuffs. My mom was crying while police interviewed her, and if I recall correctly, I was with my dad speaking to a really nice officer. My dad was really pale. It didn't say much. The next week, we moved away from that amazing city to freaking Sacramento. I couldn't understand why. I loved the beach and had no friends in this new city. I wouldn't find out until years later that the blue Mustang driver was not looking at my mom. The driver was a suspect in a string of child abductions and had a known mental illness. My uncle told me that after the arrest, he was later convicted of abducting and sodomizing several kids around my age, and was even supposedly responsible for the death of one child. Maybe more. I'm still unclear on that part. He had abducted kids off the street in broad daylight. A few relatives confirmed this story, including my mom. Driver of the blue Mustang. Let's not meet.